This is my take on a very simple club shaft puller made out of basically just two pieces of wood, a 2x4, a bottle jack. It's not attached to anything, it's freestanding. Does that because it pushes on itself. And it's a rather simple unit, fairly inexpensive. The bottle jack, it's a Cobalt. I think you can probably buy these things for anywhere from $15 to $25. The rest of the stuff is just hardware, pieces of wood that are laying around the shop. The only real fabrication that has to be done to this is this piece up here. This is something that I have a MIG welder, so I welded this little bracket on here. And then what I did is I used it's a multi wrench from a paint gun. It's an old one, and I just cut it up and used it. And this here, it's in here so that the club shaft can slide in here, and I'll show you how it works in a second. Other things you may have to buy, this little body shim. You can buy those at any auto parts store, and I'll show you how that works in a second. But that's the extent of the materials needed to build this. So let me show you how it works and how I built it. This piece obviously comes off. This bottle jack here has a couple of threaded little shafts, one there and one here. The way it came with a handle. I took the handle off. I bolted this 13-inch by 8-inch piece of OSB. Drilled the holes, and where the handle went is where what holds the bottle jack to this board. The bottle jack just sits on top of the 2x4. It's not bolted onto it in any way. What holds this and the 2x4 together are just these two screws. And that is really the extent of what it takes to make this. The pieces that I used to weld up here, if you don't have a MIG welder, I think you could probably just drill a hole through this and attach it to the shaft. The screw, I guess, that comes from the top of the bottle jack. You really don't need. I welded it. Probably a little bit of overkill because you don't need that much pressure or force to separate a shaft. But I welded it. I guess, like I said, you could just screw it in here, and I think that would suffice. So how does this thing work? Rather simple. It takes 4 nuts. I'm only going to use 2 just to speed up the process a little bit. The golf shaft, you use what they call a rubber vise. I think you can buy these for about $4 at Dick's Sporting Goods or one of your local golf shops. Slides in here, slides between the multi-tool, multi-wrench, and then all you do from here is just clamp it down. Put as much pressure as you feel you will need to hold the shaft in place. You use your little body shim that you can buy at any auto parts store. Slide it in here, and you start working the jack. And that's it. That is how simple this thing is. Tried to figure out the simplest way to do it. This is the best one I could come up with. Again, like I said, I like it because when I'm done with it, I could just put it away. I don't do this for a living. I just occasionally I'll separate a club just because I want to change the shaft out. But this thing works good. Like I said, very inexpensive. If you're not a woodworker and you don't have wood laying around your house, I would recommend just go down to a job site wherever they're building a house and ask for permission to go through their junk pile, and they'll let you go in there and you can scrounge up a piece of a 2x4 and some OSB. I would recommend that you use OSB or plywood. I wouldn't recommend MDF or particle board because as you put pressure on this, this has a tendency to bow. And OSB and plywood is very pliable. It'll bend. I'm afraid that if you use particle board, as you put pressure on this, you may end up breaking this thing. But that's it. I mean, that is how simple it is. Really, heat is what separates the club more than the force. And what I use to generate the heat is this very old, it's called a Master heat gun, made out of metal, very hardy, had it probably for 40 years, generates a lot of heat, a lot more heat than you'll need for this. But very, very nice little unit. Anyway, that's my take on a separator, a very simple one, not complicated. If anybody has a better idea or a suggestion, by all means, let us know. Thank you.